Today we will be working on our Reader's Notebook, Lessons 24, pages 343 and 344. We are going to be working on comparative and superlative adjectives, and we are working on comparing with the words good and bad. A comparative adjective does exactly what it sounds like. It compares two things. A superlative adjective compares more than two things. It says use a comparative adjective to compare two things and a superlative adjective to compare more than two things. To form a comparative adjective, add er to a short adjective and use the word more before a long adjective. To form a superlative adjective, add est or use the word most. Here's an example of a comparative adjective. Jan is stronger than Mike. Stronger, they added the er. And then the rest of the sentence says, but Anna is the strongest of the three. And strongest is the superlative adjective where they added est. Another example, Troy was more worried than Chung. So comparative adjective is more worried. It's comparing who was more worried, Troy and Chung. Okay, we're comparing who was more. Troy was more worried than Chung. But Tanya was the most worried of all. And they made that a superlative adjective by adding most. And there it's Tanya being compared to Troy and Chung, so it's more than one or more than two. Now, our activity says, read each sentence and write the correct form of the adjective in parentheses on the line. So in number 1, the adjective is fast. It says, sometimes it was fast to go around a mountain than to hike over it. So we're comparing two things, going around it or hiking over it. So we need to go up, and that's a comparative adjective, so we need to add er to the end. Sometimes it was faster to go around a mountain than to hike over it. Number 2, we have the adjective old. The old child in the family usually had more responsibilities than the younger children. So we're comparing it to younger children. Children means more than one, so we're comparing it to multiple, making that a superlative adjective. So it's going to be adding est to the end. The oldest child in a family usually had more responsibilities than the younger children. Oldest. Number 3, we have the adjective dark. At night, the wilderness was dark than the townspeople had left behind. And this is going to be comparing day and night, right? Darker, comparing the wilderness there. And it's going to be adding er, a comparative adjective, darker. At night, the wilderness was darker than the townspeople had left behind. I'd like you to go ahead and work on 4, 5, and 6 on your own. When you've finished, you can move on to page 344. On page 344, we're using good and bad. We're comparing with good and bad. The adjectives good and bad are irregular adjectives. To form their comparative and superlative forms, do not add er or est endings or use the word more or most. The chart below shows which form of good and bad to use. So when we have the word good, when we're comparing two things, we're making it a comparative adjective and we use the word better. When we're comparing more than two things, we make that a superlative adjective and we use the word best. When we have the adjective bad and we're making it a comparative adjective, comparing two things, we use the word worse. When we are using the word bad and we are comparing more than two things, we make it superlative and we use the word worst. Here's an example. Wild strawberries are good, but wild blackberries are better, and wild raspberries are the best. Look at the underlined word in each sentence. If it is correct, write C on the line. If it is incorrect, write the correct form of good or bad. And so when you're looking for the forms of good or bad, remember it's good is good, better, or best. Bad is bad, worse, or worst. Number 1, many people traveled west because they wanted a best life. We're not comparing multiple things, we're just comparing two with best. So it really should be better. The word better for number 1. Number 2, which is worst? Keeping a small farm or working hard to start a new farm. Well, you're comparing two things, keeping a small farm or working hard to start a new farm. So it's a comparative adjective, and so it's not worst, but it's the word worse. Worse. Number 3 and 4, I'll have you do on your own. Numbers 5 through 8, it says circle the word that correctly completes the sentence. Number 5, school children tried to earn good scores on their test, or school children tried to earn best scores on their tests. And we have the word good. Number 6, the farmer's worst fear was that there would be a drought, or the farmer's worst fear was that there would be a drought. And it's worst. Go ahead and complete 7 and 8 on your own. When you have finished pages 344 and 333, please take a picture, attach it to your assignment, upload, and turn it in on Teams. Thank you.